Okay, thank you. I hereby call to order this meeting of the Arizona Boxing and Mixed Martial Arts Commission. Today is Wednesday, October 19th, and the time is 11 o'clock a.m. Would those commissioners in our attendance please identify themselves and state as to whether they're here in person or via phone or via Google Meets?
This is Joe Pennington. I'm participating in person, or by phone, I'm sorry, and Google Meet.
Very good, thank you. And I am Scott Fletcher. I am participating via telephone. Item B is our new business, and B1 is pursuant to ARS Sections 5-227, 5-228, AAC R19-2-C604 for persons over the age of 36. The new license application submitted by Mr. Uriah Hall for a 2022 professional boxing athlete license. Mr. Vella, will you speak to Mr. Hall's application, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So Mr. Hall is 38 years old. He has a professional MMA record of 17-11. You may be familiar with him in his time in the UFC, and now he's at a point where he'd like to transition over to boxing. From my understanding, for the past several years, he's been training in boxing, and he did break down what his training looks like for me. So he trains, he said, about an hour and a half, 5 days a week. 3 days he runs, he spars 2 days a week, and then does strength training in between. He said he feels confident and prepared for his upcoming bout, and he has not experienced any recent injuries. So Mr. Hall, I had given them, I had spoken with Bryce Holden from the promotion, and we went back and forth quite a bit on Mr. Hall's situation, because obviously with this transition, I wanted to be sure that he was serious about boxing. And so he did send over plenty of sparring footage, as well as information that led me to believe that Mr. Hall is serious about his transition to boxing, and he's fit to do so. So I do recommend his approval.
Thank you, Mr. Vella. Commissioner Pennington, any thoughts or questions for Mr. Hall?
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't. I just recognize that he's had a pretty extensive MMA record. And based on what Mr. Vella says about his training and viewing the sparring tapes, I don't have any issue here.
Very good. Neither do I. The chair would be open to a motion if there is one.
Mr. Chairman, I move that pursuant to ARS 5-227, 5-228, and AAC R19-2-C604, that we grant a new professional boxing athlete license to Mr. Uriah Hall.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion. I'm going to second that motion. We now have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. Congratulations, Mr. Hall. We look forward to your upcoming bout. Pressing on, B2 is pursuant to ARS Sections 5-227, 5-228, and AAC R19-2-C604 for persons over the age of 36. The new license application submitted by Mr. Roy Nelson for a 2022 professional boxing athlete license. Mr. Vella, will you speak to Mr. Nelson's application, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So Mr. Nelson is 46 years old, has a professional MMA record of 23-19. Very similar to Mr. Hall in terms of, you may have recognized him from obviously his long career in the UFC and MMA as a whole. Mr. Nelson, I had the pleasure of reviewing him sparring for boxing specifically, and he did very well. He's let me know that he's been training consistently in boxing, and he's just ready to make that transition, just like Mr. Hall. When I asked him of his training regimen, he let me know that he trains about an hour to an hour and a half, 5 to 6 days a week. He does strength training twice a day. He boxes twice a week, boxes 2 to 3 times a week. He goes for bike rides 4 to 6 days out of the week. He spars once a week and grapples twice a week. He says he feels pretty good to fight anyone in the world at this point. and he has not experienced any recent injuries. Sir, based on Mr. Nelson's extensive combative sports background, I do recommend his approval.
Thank you, Mr. Vella. Mr. Nelson needs to write a book here pretty soon because he's been in with pretty much everyone over the past bit of time. Commissioner Pennington, thoughts, questions about Mr. Nelson's application?
Mr. Chairman, based on what Mr. Vella has said and the extensive record that Mr. Nelson has had in UFC, well, in MMA, I should say, that I don't have any real questions about his ability to compete.
Thank you, Commissioner. I tend to agree. I do have one question. Mr. Vella, is there an event that Mr. Nelson's hoping to be a part of?
At this time, sir, there is not. Initially, he was scheduled for October 29th. I'm not sure what happened there, but he's not currently on that card.
Okay, fair enough. I have no further questions either. The chair would be open to a motion.
Mr. Chairman, pursuant to ARS 5-227, 5-228, and AAC R19-2-C604, that we grant a professional boxing license to, and that would be a new professional boxing athlete license to Mr. Roy Nelson.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion, which I am going to second. We now have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. Congratulations to Mr. Nelson. B3, we continue on as pursuant to ARS sections 5-227, 5-228, and AAC R19-2-C604 for persons over the age of 36, the new license application submitted by Mr. Theo Doukas for a 2022 professional MMA athlete license. Mr. Vella, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So Mr. Doukas submitted his application. Although I was not able to touch base with him on his training regimen, he's currently 2-3 as an amateur, and he intends to compete against. He's matched up to compete against Darren Martinez, who's 0-1 as a professional. So I do believe that it'll be a fair bout. Although I would like to, Mr. Doukas is on the line here, I'd like to have him explain a little bit about his training regimen so that we may make an appropriate decision.
Danny, also I sent that over this morning just so you can review it while he goes over it with you.
Okay. Is he on the line, Sophia?
I don't see him on here, but if you want, I can go over it for him.
Okay. Yes, please do.
Give me 1 second to pull it up really quick. Super sorry, guys. Did not have that up and running yet. We have two separate times for fighters to come in and train. He trains twice a day at 3:30 to 5 every day, and then his second time is 7 to 9 for primary classes for heavy competition. His coach is Rick Little. What do you guys do training a week? He trains 3 days a week from at 7 p.m. and then he trains 2 days. He trains once a week for 2 days a week. And then, so roughly 10 to 12 hours a week. He does 3:30 drilling classes every day. Example, Mondays is kickboxing. He does pad work and conditioning. They do sparring twice a week. They do 90-minute nonstop movement specifics for drilling, for grappling and mitts. They do situational drillings for 2 to 3 minutes straight, where they start in bad positions to work out of them. So your basic MMA style positionals. He has not experienced any injuries, and he's based on normal injury rate. He's just sore from training and getting into shape.
Okay, thank you for that, Sophia. So, Mr. Chairman, after hearing of his training regimen, it seems like a pretty common training regimen there. What I would say is that he does meet the minimum requirement to compete as a professional with 5 amateur bouts, and with the opponent that they have him matched with, I am comfortable giving a recommendation for approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bella. Commissioner Pennington, any thoughts regarding this?
Mr. Chairman, in looking at the fight record, he did have, as Mr. Vela said, he did have 5 amateur bouts. The last one apparently was October 29th of 21, so a little over a year ago, or not quite a year ago, I guess it was. And based on the information that we were provided regarding his training regimen, I don't have any real questions.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, I did also look at his record, and that fight last October was a first round stoppage win for him. So he's heading in the right direction anyway. I agree. I see no reason to not push him forward. The chair would be open to a motion if there is one.
Mr. Chairman, I move that pursuant to ARS 5-227 and 5-228 and AAC R19-2-C604 that we grant a new professional MMA athlete license to Mr. Theo Doukas.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion. I am going to second that motion. We now have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. Congratulations, Mr. Doukas. Look forward to your next fight. Item B4 is pursuant to ARS sections 5-227, 5-228, and the AAC R19-2-C604 for persons over the age of 36. The new license application submitted by Mr. Aaron Highbaugh for a 2022 professional MMA athlete license. Mr. Vela, will you speak to Mr. Highbaugh's application, please?
Really quickly, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I am going to recommend that we table Mr. Highbaugh's approval, because I did receive word that he is not going to be on the competition on the schedule of competition that he was going to compete in, and he also did not submit everything that I need.
Okay, very good. I'm going to take your lead and table B4. Commissioner Pennington, are you okay with this angle?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. B4 is tabled. We head to B5. Pursuant to ARS sections 5-227, 5-228, and AAC R19-2-C604 for persons over the age of 36, the renewal license application submitted by Mr. Anthony Birchak for a 2022 professional MMA athlete license. Mr. Vela, will you speak to Mr. Birchak's application, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Anthony Birchak is 15-8 as a professional. I believe that his record speaks for himself there. I did ask for a breakdown of his training regimen, and he let me know that he trains an hour and a half minimum, 7 days a week, 2 to 3 times per day. He spars once a week, runs 3 times a week, and he does private boxing three times a week for 2 hours. He also does jiu-jitsu grappling 4 hours a day. A little bit extra on what he does. He's also involved in Muay Thai, wrestling, and does strength and conditioning on a daily basis. He feels good about his upcoming bouts and does not have any injuries. Again, sir, with the 15-8 professional record, I do recommend his approval.
Thank you, Mr. Vela. Commissioner Pennington, what are your thoughts on Mr. Birchak's application?
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion if one is in order.
One is in order, I believe. Please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that pursuant to ARS 5-227, 5-228, and AAC R19-2-C604 that we grant a renewal professional MMA athlete's license to Mr. Anthony Birchak.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion that I'm going to second. We now have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner. The motion carries 2-0. And we look forward to seeing Mr. Birchak here shortly. B6 is pursuant to ARS sections 5-227, 5-228, and AAC R19-2-C604 for persons over the age of 36. The renewal license application submitted by Mr. Augusto Mendes for a 2022 professional MMA athlete license. Mr. Vela, tell us about Mr. Mendez' application, please.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mendes is 6-3 as a professional MMA fighter. He did break down his training for me, and he's also got some other credentials that I think the commission should know about. He trains 2 to 3 times a day, 1 to 2 hours per training session. He trains 6 times a week, and on Mondays he does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a light jog. On Tuesdays he does cardio sprints and live wrestling. On Wednesdays he does strength and conditioning, striking, sparring, and a light jog. Thursdays he hits the mitts and does cardio sprints. Fridays is his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He goes live there, strength and conditioning, as well as a light jog. And on Saturday, he does MMA, full contact sparring. Sundays, he rests. He says he feels great about his upcoming bout and has not experienced any injuries. And to speak of some of his previous credentials, he is an IBJJF black belt world champion. He's a 2-time black belt world pro champion. He's also a 2 times IBJJF black belt world no-gi champion and an ACB JJ no-gi champion. So he does have an extensive grappling background, and obviously with his 6-3 professional record as an MMA fighter, I do recommend his approval.
Thank you, Mr. Vela. Commissioner Pennington, what are your thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vela, have you had an opportunity to view any recent sparring work or workout work for Mr. Mendez?
I have not.
Okay, my only concern is that it's been approximately, well, a little over 4 years since his last event. And given were all of these other non-MMA, wait a minute, I think I'm looking at the wrong thing here. I'm now looking at the right thing. It has not been 4 years, it's only been 3. I was looking at the suspension record before. So I guess that given the extensive non-MMA work as far as some sort of sanctioned event that Mr. Vela talked about, I really don't have any questions at this point.
Thank you, Commissioner. I too have no further questions. I think I think he is perfectly situated for this upcoming Freedom Fight Night event. The chair be open to a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that pursuant to ARS 5-227, 5-228, and AAC R19-2-C604, that we grant a renewal professional MMA athlete's license to Mr. Augusto Mendes.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion, which I am going to second. We now have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 2-0. Congratulations, Mr. Mendez. Look forward to your upcoming bout. Let's go to C. C is our information reports. Review, discussion, and possible action on C1, our event reports. The following events were paid and approved by the Executive Director from September 22nd, 2022 to October 18th, 2022. The first is a request from Matchroom Boxing for approval of a boxing event to be held at the Gila River Arena in Glendale, Arizona on Saturday, December 3rd, 2022. Very good. Mr. Vela, anything else going on in our information reports?
Sir, so that is just what was approved in that last month, but we do have, check our online calendar. We do have plenty of events coming up, so we're staying busy, and that's definitely a good thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be a great fall and winter. There's some fun events coming up, so much more to come. Let's press on. Item D is the call to the public. Mr. Vella, does anyone want to chat with us?
Mr. Chairman, not that I'm aware of, but I'm going to check to see if any hands are raised. No, sir, it does not look like any members of the public would like to speak.
Okay, very good. Let's go to E, which is the call to the commission. Commission members or the executive director may introduce a summary of current events, ask questions, and or make comments. Commissioner Pennington, Mr. Vella, anything you'd like to chat about?
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing really to raise at this point, except I would appreciate if Tony Zano could give me a call after this meeting. My number, Tony, is 520-529-1591. But other than that, I don't have any further comments.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Vella, anything we need to talk about?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I just want to talk about some of the upcoming events and exciting things that are going on. We did finalize our planning for the ABC training, and we're going to host that event here for our boxing and MMA officials. We'll have trainings for boxing and MMA judging, as well as boxing and MMA reffing, and that will take place on December 3rd and 4th in the morning times, of course, and then so that will be quite a busy weekend on the 3rd and 4th, but we're excited. We think it's a great opportunity for not only our local officials, but officials in the surrounding states that may want to be a part of that and further their education. And in addition to that, obviously, plenty of local events and larger promotions taking place here for the rest of the year. And I'm very excited about it. And I'm happy to see such good and consistent growth for all of our promoters. It looks very good.
Thank you, Mr. Vella, and thank you for spearheading that growth. Yeah, that's gonna be a busy weekend with Matchroom in town and weigh-ins, I assume, on Friday. Large events on Saturday. You think you can squeeze it all in with training too?
Absolutely.
Okay, there you go. I have nothing I'm itching to talk about right now, so let's press on to F, which is an announcement that the next regularly scheduled commission meeting will be at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, November 16th, 2022, and is subject to change based on a quorum. That said, item G is adjournment, which would require a motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
We have a motion. I'm going to second that motion. We now have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries 2-0. Commissioner, thank you for your time. Mr. Vella, thank you. Everyone else, appreciate all your efforts, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. We are officially adjourned.